All right, everybody. Jayson Tatum is back. That's it. That's all you need to know. Celtics won. That ain't the story. Jayson Tatum back on an NBA court looking like Jayson Tatum. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. It's a Green with Envy post game live. You guys know the deal. Let's lock in. What up, what up, what up? Welcome into another edition of Green with Envy. It's a Green with Envy post-game live. Jayson motherfucking Tatum is back edition. That's the type of night we on. As always, this is your boy Will Weir checking in. How you doing? How you living? Joining me, as he does each and every time, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only Greg Manakis. Let's fucking go. I don't have anything else.
Let's go, man. Like, what did we see? Like, are you kidding me? Jayson Tatum looked that good in his first game back. He goes 15, 12, and 7 in his first game back. And like, when you think about people talking about, oh, Jayson Tatum, you know, in the documentary, I ain't coming back to be a role player, doc. Like, this is kind of the role player Jayson Tatum that you got out there tonight, right? Where he's just doing everything and not trying to do too much. It was beautiful, man. And like, there were some, there's some hiccups, the missed dunk, the air ball. He had 2 air balls in this game, but overall seeing him on the court, and that one, just emotionally, I was just like, this is awesome. 2, just to see everybody else just immediately kind of just fall into the right place.
It made so much more sense.
Everybody makes more sense.
Made so much more sense. Just the shots everyone was getting, the responsibilities that everybody had. It just seemed right? Like it's, we know that there's been a missing piece, and obviously a giant missing piece all season. But it's one of those things where, like, obviously we've kind of fallen in love with this team. So I think in certain respects, we were able to kind of out of sight, out of mind it, right? And just really dive in and be a part of what this team has been this year. And it's been really special. But when you insert Tatum, and honestly, shout out to our guy Fred here in the chat, 27 minutes, 12 boards and 7 dimes. Let's fucking go. Like, I didn't expect it to look as clean as it looked tonight. And by clean, I mean how he looked, right? Like, I thought the fit, as we talked about this morning during coffee and season, I thought the fit was going to be pretty seamless because Jayson Tatum can do everything. And it's funny, Greg, because you could tell he was waiting to he needed to get that easy dunk to get going, right? He needed that. But before that, he had 5 assists. And like, that's something that's so desperately been missing from this team. Just another playmaker, another guy that can create for someone else, another guy that can handle the ball, get into the lane, like can initiate without having to look around. And where are the only 3 guys that can handle the basketball? And even before he scored, you felt like he was helping to put everything in place, like we're talking about.
He's a professional basketball player. He's a professional pick and roll ball handler. He's a professional screener. He's a professional off-ball shooter. He's a professional rebounder. Like, he is just the consummate professional out there on the court. And when you go from the Boston Celtics, second in the East, 41-21 coming into the game tonight, they've been gimmicky, right? They've had to do it with energy. They've had to do it with like figuring out ways to win on the margins that we haven't seen in the past. And when you put Jayson Tatum back into place and everybody else just like starts to see how much easier the game is actually going to be because you have a 6'8.5" point guard out there on the court, like he's unbelievable, man. And like, you saw Derek White immediately looks like Derek White again. Jaylen Brown seamlessly goes 22, 7, and 7 on the night. Like, he was awesome.
24, 7, and 7.
24, 7, and 7. He was awesome. Nimi Keita and Jayson Tatum like have this unbelievable chemistry already. And Peyton Pritchard, you know, he struggled to start the game, but he finishes 8 for 17 from the field, got going in garbage time a little bit. And like, I'm just like at a loss for words at how good this looked, man. Like, we looked amazing.
Yeah, there's a, you know, it's It's the Mad, which by the way, I haven't even said this yet. Celtics won 120 to 100. That was
Yeah.
the final score. We're 5+ minutes in of a post game and didn't even talk about the final score. Celtics win by 20. And it is the Mavericks. So I'm going to reserve some of the thoughts that are going on in my head right now because the Celtics have 3 really tough games coming up in the next week on the road. And if they pull at 2 of those 3 out, and really depending on how it looks, even if they don't, there's a real chance I'm going to start getting reckless on this podcast by next weekend. Like there's a high chance of recklessness.
All my text messages are already reckless, man.
Yeah, well, it's because that's the whiskey talking. Whiskey got in the mix.
But bro, like when he missed that dunk in the first quarter, I was like, all right, I'm opening up the whiskey. I was like, I don't know, like I'm nervous. I was on edge. He looked good, but when I saw that, I was like waiting for him to tweak something. And the fact that he got through the game healthy, I was excited. The whiskey definitely helped.
Jaylen Brown, great game, dude. Chill with the alley. That alley freaked me out. Like the alley itself was fine, like the attempt, but just like the pass was so bad. I was like,
that should have
God.
been go to JT, back to you for the alley. Don't throw JT the alley. Come on,
dude.
man.
It was because it's one of those things where like now that the game's in flow, you could see Tatum like trying to adjust and over adjust and extend. And I was just like, oh my God. Like I had this like a brief moment of panic. It was fine. But I had like a brief moment of JB. Let's simmer down now.
Dude,
But,
how awesome was JB tonight, though?
dude, he was great. And we talked about it this morning. Like he wasn't hitting a wall. I don't want to say that's not the case, but like he needed help, right? He like that's how it goes. And they talked about on the broadcast like how he is, I think he's either the league leader or second in the league in usage rate. We've seen, and I want to go back and I'll try to look this up for our next podcast. Didn't have time today. I want to go back and look at guys who led the league or were like top 2 or 3 in usage rate over the last couple of years. My guess is they didn't win, right? Like you think it's probably going to be Luka. It's probably going to be go back a couple of years. It's going to be hard. And I'm trying to think of some of the guys that are like just like crazily ball dominant. It probably didn't end in victory or in championships or for some of the guys ending up in the NBA finals. So it's a good thing that his usage rate is probably going to dip down a little bit because he's going to be able to kind of spread that wealth with Tatum. And as you saw tonight, like it just looked, it felt easier. Like it's not the same grind.
There was not one, and once again, it was the Mavs. There was not one moment where Jaylen Brown had any sort of like stress in this game. Like everything that he did was easy for him, man. Even like the post ups that he had, like he had a little bit more bounce to him. He looked energized. He looked refreshed. He was coming off of pin downs.
He actually has a moment to reserve energy to be able to push in those certain moments and have those bursts that, as the season has gone on, we see slightly less and less because he's been carrying such a large, such a large load for this team.
Yeah, the game was easy for him, man. The game was easy for Derek White. And like, dude, like Jayson Tatum, I forgot how good he is. Like, as I'm watching this game tonight, just like his ability to get off a pick and roll, get somebody on his hip, get to a spot, look for a lob. Like the lob he had to Keita in the first one of the first assists he had of the game. It's not an easy pass. And he just made it look so easy after not having played for almost 300 days. Like, are you kidding me with how good Jayson Tatum looked in this game? I mean, Vooch goes down. Another note here. Vooch goes down with a fractured fingers, getting surgery. He's going to miss a month.
That happens so quickly.
Doesn't matter. Like Jayson Tatum coming back, like Vooch was always going to be someone that you hoped could mesh and might unlock something and be the Porzingis, Horford facsimile. But the whole point is just like if Jayson Tatum comes back, everybody else slides into place. Vooch, I mean, think about last year, man. Like Porzingis, even the year before we won the championship, Porzingis barely played in the playoffs, right? And it was just like Jayson Tatum just went to a whole nother level. Jaylen Brown went to a whole nother level. And those two guys are the guys that matters. These ancillary pieces are just like icing on the cake. And Nimi Keita, I mean, the chemistry between
He
Jayson
was
Tatum
great
and
tonight,
Nimi
man.
Keita
Nimi, another
was
another
unreal.
fantastic Nimi game tonight, dude.
Yeah.
16 points, 15 boards, had a block. That sequence with the block, and then he ends up with the and one, missed the free throw, but the and one on the other end. To the Tatum point though, Greg, of just reminding us of how good he is. This is I don't mean this in any way as a slight to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's been awesome. He's probably going to be first team All NBA. We're certainly going to be very vocal about him being first team All NBA. Jayson Tatum's done that for 4 straight years. Like, I think we forget sometimes because it's become so part of his norm, and it's like that's such a in bold, like, on your resume, 4 straight first team All NBAs. Like, that's not a normal thing for guys to do.
Mhm.
Like, there's very few guys. Like, we love Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce never sniffed a first team All NBA, right? Like,
Right.
and you can go back and, like, you can talk about the different context behind it. But Jayson Tatum is right there. He's been there, and so when he comes back in, as great as Jaylen Brown's been and is deserving of everything for this year, we forget that the way that he's performing right now this season is what Jayson Tatum has done for 4 straight years in to some degree. And watching him come back and just feel like, other than, taking 5 or 6 shots to kind of get his rhythm scoring the basketball, everything just felt like it felt like Tatum. It's I'm hard pressed to find words because it felt so
Yeah.
much like Tatum. I didn't expect that.
I mean, the rebounding was unbelievable in this
Yep.
game. Just like the decision making was quick. That one play where he goes to the screen, slips the screen, kicks it out to Hauser for the 3 in the corner. Like the
Mhm.
read that he made off of that was crazy. Didn't feel like the game was too fast for him. He was playing at his own pace. He's such a methodical player, and he was able to just like immediately get into his spots and do what Jayson Tatum does out there. As I was watching, I was trying to think like, am I seeing any sort of limitation? Do I see like lack of lateral movement, lack of explosiveness, like anything at all? And like honestly, dude, I didn't really see anything that was like 75%. I would say he was probably like 95% Jayson Tatum out there. And I was
Yeah.
expecting 75 to 80%.
Right. I think he certainly exceeded expectations. I think there's
Yeah.
no doubt about that. The only thing that I was really watching was like defensively, they kind of put him on like PJ Washington. No, they put him on guys that weren't really going to attack him. So it
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily like we saw him, have to be the point of attack defender for the most part,
Mhm.
right? Which is fine. That's like not a knock. That's just
Yeah.
something that I think as
And he
we
wasn't
go
really
through this
willing
next week.
to be a rim protector. There were a couple moments where he was the low
Mhm.
man and he kind of like shied away from contact
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but that's fine.
Yeah, also, I mean, on offense though, the third quarter started that drive downhill where he gets the contact, bumps off to the right, like, that's part of this, like, what am I looking for? Like, is he gonna go get that contact? Like, no free throws tonight, like, I'm sure that's going to change as we get more and more into this and he starts getting back downhill, a little bit more looking to score, looking to be aggressive. But, yeah, I mean, those are, like, the minor things that I would look at that over the next couple of weeks, we'll look to see that build up. And it's gonna be interesting because, the Mavericks, this is where, playing the Mavericks comes into play. Like, they have Cooper Flag, who's a rookie. Chris Middleton isn't Chris Middleton anymore. Like, he's fine, but like they have no one that's really going to challenge you and go downhill and try to do
Mhm.
that. Coming up, they've got Donovan Mitchell. Coming up, they've got James Harden. Even Dennis Schroeder, if he gets a mismatch, is going to think that like, hey, I'm going to make Tatum run and work in some
Yep.
capacity. Like, there's multiple guys that will do that. The Spurs have several ball handlers. OKC has unlimited ball handlers. Like, this will be something that we'll see more of over the next week. But I think this was a good warm up game where that's not necessarily a main thing that Tatum had to do. But that would be to your point of like, where was he at limitation wise? I wouldn't say it's a limitation. I think it's just, I would put him at 90-95% because we didn't get a chance to see that, which is, again,
Yeah, that's
totally
fair.
fine, but will be coming.
But he played more minutes than I expected. He started, which I thought he was going to come off the
Yeah, no
bench.
limit. no,
No,
no, no time restriction.
27,
Why why would you need that?
27 minutes in his first game back. And like, if it was a close game, I feel like he probably would have went 30 minutes. We were
Mhm.
up 20 when he came out of the game with 5
Yeah.
minutes left, right? So, I mean, raving reviews for Jayson Tatum. A couple other things to point out, like team-wise in this game, Celtics were unbelievable on defense. 16 total stocks compared to 7 for the Mavs. So we win that by 9. And when the comments I made about being less gimmicky, there there were less opportunities to be gimmicky because we were just so much more efficient out there on the
Mhm.
court. But one thing I do want to point out, Vucevic going down with the injury allows Luka Garza to come back into the rotation, which is going to be a really
He looked good.
interesting thing to watch over the next month, as Vuce is going to be out basically until the playoffs, right? So what are we going to see out of Luka Garza coming into this role where he's been great as the second big all year? He's a gimmicky player, right? He's one that just like spams offensive rebounds, and he's not like the greatest defender. I thought he was pretty good on defense tonight. But what were your thoughts seeing Luka Garza get 18 minutes in the absence of Vucevic, who only played 2 minutes?
I mean, you've been saying for the last couple games or last couple weeks, like maybe he's just as good or better than Vooch, right? And that's certainly entirely possible. And like I think this comment here in the chat right now, next week is the real test for us. I think it's the real test for Garza, right? I think it's the real test to your point of how truly gimmicky is, what we've seen from Garza. But I think the same logic that we applied this morning to can Tatum unlock Vooch, I think there's a little bit of that also applies to the Garza sense, right? Because honestly, like Garza, in the sense of, when you say gimmicky, it's that he's an energy guy, right? And energy kind of when you get to the playoffs, it only takes you so far. Usually those guys by game 4 of a a 6-7 game of a long series, they're relegated to like
Because
5
everybody's playing
points.
so hard, right? So like
Right,
the
right.
energy that you bring in the regular season, everybody's matching that energy in the playoffs.
Yeah, and so I think with Garza, again, to the Tatum factor, because one of my biggest concerns of Garza and why I thought Vooch is going to be an upgrade is Vooch is a really good defensive rebounder. He's really good at boxing out. Garza pretty good at boxing out, really good offensive rebounder, pretty poor defensive rebounder. Now, when you add Tatum, maybe that can kind of make up for it. And you see tonight where he comes in and has 12 rebounds off the jump, 11 of those on the defensive side. So I wonder if that helps to unlock Luka in the sense that you can get away with him on the court for longer because Tatum is helping. Because we've talked about this morning, like before Tatum comes back, like you're just playing so undersized. Like after Luka, the next biggest guy on the court is usually, because you're not playing double big, is Jaylen Brown if he's out there, or you're relying on Ugo Gonzalez or Baylor Shireman to be guys that are just crashing the boards like madmen. So I think for Luka, I think aside from just continuing to see how Tatum looks, I think Luka's probably the number 2 guy over these games against Cleveland with Mobley and Allen, against the Spurs with Wemby, Luke Cornett, and everybody that they have, OKC, Hartenstein and Chet and everybody they have. Like, I want to see, can Luka hang, or is he just going to be an obvious can't play this type of guy this week? Because I think this is a real big week for Luka. And I think ultimately with the Vooch injury, I think we'll be fine in the regular season. I think at the end of the day, I started to lean into even watching Luka today and him having a pretty good game. I think the idea behind Nemi is, can you just patch together 20 minutes or 25
Mm-hmm.
minutes between Luka and Vooch and let Joe just kind of play it out. But I think that depth when we get to the postseason, you'll need it to get through 3 or 4 rounds. Right now for the regular season, not super worried, but I do think they'll need all 3 of those bigs to get through 3 or 4 rounds, if that's actually something on the table, which after tonight, I'm thinking it might be.
Yeah, our guy Fred says, "Am I the only one who believes we're better with a three-headed big rotation? It's been the norm for most of the Tatum term." True to some degree. I think there was so much inconsistency with the Porzingis minutes that the amount of like 3 big, I'd have to like
Mhm.
really think about like when Porzingis was healthy, how much 3 big did we actually go to?
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting when we think about matchups, because the playoffs is going to be all about matchups. If we see the Knicks in the second round, which is what the matchup would be right now, we're going to need Vucevic in that matchup,
Mhm.
right? Mitchell Robinson is such a problem for us. Luka Garza is not big enough to deal
Mhm.
with Mitchell Robinson. Vucevic, I mean, the one time we played the Knicks, he had a couple of great box outs of Mitch that really stood out to me, where I was like, oh, shoot, like I've never seen
Right.
anybody on the Celtics box out Mitchell Robinson. So like
Yeah.
it was nice to see somebody do it. You mentioned the Cavs. We're gonna see them on Sunday. The guy that like is starting to come back into the back of my mind is Amari Williams. With Vooch being out, Amari might get some opportunities, as Fred said. Like we've gone to some 3 big
Yep.
rotations. it could make some sense to see Amari Williams just to see how he meshes in there as another Kada, right? So he has a very similar skill set to what Kada brings out there on the court. So might he be able to steal 5 minutes because Nimi shouldn't be playing 30 minutes, right? So if
Yeah.
Nimi's playing 25, Garza's playing 15, that leaves an extra 8, right? And maybe it's Tatum at the 5 for a little bit. Maybe it's Tatum at the 5 for 3 minutes, Amari in there for 5 minutes, something like that. But those minutes are going to be really interesting, the distribution without Vooch, because that's a whole nother wrinkle that we weren't expecting coming into this game tonight.
Yeah, so that I think that's going to be one of the most fascinating things to watch. The other thing that we talked about this morning is these young wings have been really good. So it's going to be interesting to see how Joe balances that. And tonight it was Jordan Walsh. Jordan Walsh was the guy that got cut from the kind of three-headed young power pole, wing position that we've been talking about all season. And I wonder if that's going to stick or if that's a matchup thing. We'll see. I think that's another part that I'm going to be kind of watching over this next week. And Ugo and Baylor were both really good tonight. It's I think watching. I meant to look this up, and I'll try to look it up here in a second. I feel like Ugo Gonzalez is getting really confident with that 3-point shot. He's got a really nice release. Like when Ugo is on
2 for
with
3
that
tonight.
3-point shot, yeah, when he's on with that 3-point shot, like it's pretty wet when it goes in. And I think that's really big for Ugo sticking in the lineup above Jordan Walsh. Shireman again, I think just made a bunch of winning plays, really falling in love with the way Baylor Shireman has been playing. I think it's gonna be interesting to see how Missoula balances that kind of going forward.
Yeah, man. And I think, hearing some more stuff behind the scenes with Tatum's return, Ugo is his understudy, right? Tatum has taken Ugo under his wing. They sit next to each other on the plane. That's his guy. And when you think about just like watching the team and who's going to be an 82 game player versus who is a playoff player, Ugo Gonzalez feels like one of those guys that's just not going to be out of the rotation at any point this year. Baylor Shireman has definitely started to insert himself into the minds of all Celtics fans as, oh, this guy might just be one of our top 9 guys, right?
Telling you, I called it. Baylor game's coming at some point in the playoffs. We're getting the random
I
guy
believe
game.
it.
I'm calling Baylor for him. Calling my shot.
I believe it. And Jordan Walsh is one of those guys where he's gimmicky, right? To use that word again. Like what he does on the court, he's super long, super athletic. He's like kind of a one-trick pony in that he's a point of attack defender. Can do a few other things, but for the most part, he kind of just does one thing and he guards the ball really well. Ugo, really good cutter, really good ball mover, connective piece. Baylor Shireman can shoot the 3 and he knocks it down with consistency. Good point of attack defender as well. Really, tough as nails. I've compared to Marcus Smart multiple times. Walsh, I think, still has a lot of long-term potential with the team. I just think last 20 games of the season with Jayson Tatum coming back into the fold, you need to at some point figure out who are your 9 guys, who are your 10 guys if we're extending it out to 10 for just the way that the NBA is evolving right now.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Walsh, just because we're loaded with Jayson Tatum coming back, he's probably going to be the guy that finds his way out, but I wouldn't be surprised if Joe finds some opportunities to give him a shot in these last 19 games.
Yeah, I think he'll get some shots here in these last 19 games. And I think in my head, the way it's going to play out is whichever one of Ugo, Baylor, and Jordan Walsh finds himself out of the rotation to start the playoffs, if the Celtics are going to make a long run, and I think this would really be, I'm envisioning more happening with Jordan Walsh, that in these long series, you got to make a lot of adjustments. There's going to be a time where, we match up with Philly where it's like, Maxey just killed us for 3 straight games. Like, we're just going to play Jordan Walsh this game for 15 minutes and you're just going to guard Tyrese Maxey the whole time. Like, there's going to be
it's like
effect.
back when Brad Stevens just pulls out the Gerald Green into the starting lineup against the Bulls when we go down 2-0.
Right.
It's like, oh shit, Gerald Green starting at the 4. Like, there's going to be a game where Jordan Walsh is doing some shit like that.
And that's the DNA of the Jayson Tatum version of this team that I think can carry over, right? Is the kind of stay ready environment, and then knowing like, hey, we gotta go to the tool belt here. We gotta go get a new drill. It's Jordan Walsh this time, or it's Baylor Shireman, whatever it might be. So I think it's gonna be an interesting mesh of Tatum rising, obviously, the skill and professionalism on a night to night basis. But the guys that built up a lot of experience and, for the most part, especially from that young group that bounce back and forth, like they're going to be ready to jump in if and when needed. And I think that's going to pay dividends for sure.
Let's go to the chat here. We got some comments here from Team X-Man 00. Says, I think Tatum should win MVP. I think Tatum is the best player to touch a basketball. I'm taking Tatum over Kai Jones and Michael Jordan. Let's go.
Where the
Team
Kai
X-Man
Jones comment come
00.
from?
That's
Jesus.
hilarious. I think Kai Jones called himself the GOAT or greatest player of all time. I think that's what he's
Fair.
referencing. Comment here from Nate does HVAC 83. Shout out to Nate. If you need your HVAC repaired, hit up Nate. No way you think anyone should be worried. Nah, I'm playing LOL Celtics solid. As Celtics fans, I think y'all would hate to hear who I like. Go ahead, Nate. Say who you like, man. It's all
Tell us who
good.
you like, man. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to
Nate, put your HVAC contact information in there in case anybody needs a HVAC service.
Like I said, I am 1 week away from feeling pretty reckless on this podcast. Like, I got to see how this week goes. You and I are going to get to see in person this team, which I think is going to make a wild difference for how we feel about this team, what it looks like Tuesday night in San Antonio when we're there. If you're going to be there, hit us up, CelticsNoise@gmail.com, @GreenMVPod. Slide into the DMs, let us know. Would love to meet up. But yeah, I think it's going to be, real potential that the Celtics end up, getting 2 of these 3 games, or even if it's 1, but it's like kind of, at the very end, they maybe lose one of these. Like these are 3, the Cavs are streaking. The Thunder and Spurs are 2 of the 3 best teams in the league. Like there's a chance that if this week goes, and my expectations for this week are changing as I'm speaking because of what happened with Tatum tonight. So anything's on the table right now for what we're going to be saying by the time we record next weekend.
No, and I think that's a good point to bring up the strength of schedule here as we kind of wrap up this post game pod. Is with or without Jayson Tatum, the Celtics were about to enter the toughest stretch of the season, right? So like the 42-21 record, kind of throw that out the window for right now, just because I think a lot of that, there's a lot of noise around that record. And I think coming into this really tough stretch where they have like the 3rd toughest strength of schedule for the remainder of the season, just looking at the games that we're playing, I was expecting closer to a 500 record. I think that's kind of what it's going to be. That's what it is in the playoffs, right? You have 7 games. You only need to win 4. The other team can win 3. You only need to be 1 game above 500 in a playoff series. And when you play these better teams and these contenders, you're going to lose some of these games. That's just the way it goes. There's only one winner. And when you get the test to the Cavs, you get the test to the Spurs, the Thunder, like there's a world in which you go 0-3, but do you compete? Are you showing the habits? Are you showing the chemistry with Jayson Tatum back into the fold that can make you believe these Celtics could actually be contenders? Or is it like, oh shoot, like maybe we're getting a little too big for our britches right now after 1 game against a lowly Mavs team, where Klay Thompson looked pretty good, by the way.
Yeah, Klay has those nights, man, where you're like, oh, I see the old Klay. I remember when Klay was awesome and everybody used to love Klay. It was great. But yeah, exciting week coming up. It was great. Cooper Flag was okay in this game. Looked like he got injured kind of early and, took a little bit of the steam out of, 7 of 23. Not a very efficient night for Cooper Flag. Did have 8 rebounds, 6 assists. So main event with his first look in the TD Garden, potentially maybe a future Celtic. We'll see. I don't know.
Sick.
Favorite player was Larry Bird. He wants to be like Jayson Tatum. So best place to learn is, under Jayson Tatum's tutelage in 3 years. So we'll see.
Yep.
Maybe that.
We got a comment here, Will, from 414 Eva Fee. Tatum will get injured again.
Like
fuck out of here, bro.
Yeah.
Fuck out of here.
Yeah. What are you doing? Dude, okay. This is just a side thing. What to this particular person, why are you coming into a Celtics podcast and commenting about Tatum getting injured? Like, how bad is your life that's what you're doing on your Friday night? Like, that's the fuck, dude. All right, let's get out of here on that note. Let that guy do whatever he needs to do to feel better about his shitty life. And we'll keep rocking here. So coming up next week, as we mentioned, going to be a fun week of Celtics games. Sunday matinee, Celtics, Cavs. That will be a good one. Tuesday night, myself, Greg, will be in the building down at the Frostbank Center in San Antonio against Big Wemby. And then Thursday night against Oklahoma City Thunder. For our podcast schedule, we're going to have something for you guys. Monday, we're going to record Monday morning instead of Sunday. So Monday morning, Monday afternoon, and then likely we'll have something for you guys probably after the Thunder game. It's a later start, so we might be able to do that one despite our men's league schedule. So we'll figure it out. We'll let you guys know. But a fun week of basketball. And most importantly, Jayson Tatum is back. That's all that
Let's go,
matters.
baby.
Jayson Tatum, welcome back. Glad to have you. This has been another presentation here of Green with Envy. We will catch you guys later. Peace.